All right, Milligan crew. It is the final week of the regular season, and there are two massive matchups and three teams within that on the bubble. Michael, we're going to throw it in the bubble to make you feel good. We're going to tell you you got a chance. So, with the last week, the only thing left to be determined is Mac versus Krista. Krista's up on Mac right now from winning last week, and Mac taking the loss 9-8, but they play each other. So if Mac wins, they will be tied. And Mac is ahead of Krista by 7 total points. So points for doesn't matter in this case because if Mac wins, he already has more points. And so he would win off the tiebreaker and he would be in the playoffs and get promoted. If Krista wins, she would beat him by head to head. And doesn't matter if it's only by 1 point or 6 points or more than 7, that tiebreaker won't come into play. And Krista will be in the playoffs. The other thing that matters for Michael on that is Michael was already guaranteed promotion, but he can only get into the playoff as a wild card unless he wins and Dylan loses. But even in that case, Dylan has outscored him by 120 points. So that's not going to do him any good anyway. So Dylan has wrapped up the lowest division. But for the wild card, it essentially comes down to Jeffrey, myself, Michael, and the aforementioned Krista and Mac. And me and Jeffrey got no chance. So we're irrelevant. Michael is down about 40 points to them. So it's realistic. Michael will need to have a heck of a week like Jerry Judy on a Monday night to get him back into that. But it's not impossible. Oh, I believe my son just came out of the room. He's supposed to be asleep. Yeah, definitely. The other points for people, let's see. Yeah, it really, those three are the third or the fourth, fifth, and sixth highest scoring teams in the league. So well done, guys. Y'all deserve the wild card spot. It's going to be a battle. More likely than not, both Mac and Krista are going to make the playoffs, but the winner of them will get promoted as well up to the upper middle division next year instead of going down to the lowest. So a lot on the line there. The other matchup is me versus Jeffrey. We don't play each other this week, but if Jeffrey loses and I win, we're tied for both the promotion and getting into the playoff. Again, points forward coming to the tiebreaker, and I'm only up on Jeffrey by 28 points. So it's also not impossible that Jeffrey loses against Ryan, but outscores me by 29 points and still gets it. So there's a lot at play there. A lot could happen. It is possible that Jeffrey could lose and still make the playoffs. So let's get into it. Let's see what we got. First is me versus Alan. Not going to spend much time here. Alan, love you to death. See you at the draft, just like your brother. Yeah, lots of injuries, people on bye. Also, it is the final bye week. We're not dealing like Luke got screwed 2 years ago with a bye week in the playoffs. This is the last week of bye weeks. No one's on byes after this, but there is like 6 teams on bye this week, and there are a lot of good ones. So how appropriate for there to be a Bye-Mageddon on the final week of the season. William versus Barrett. William wins the sweepstakes with winning Isaac Garindo. Hey, shoot your shot. I think we all pretty much almost did everything we had. Congrats to William for being patient and having that. He's projected actually to only win by 0.3 points. Nice to see a matchup unlike last week that's tightly contested. Bad news is this game doesn't actually matter as far as, it will for seeding, but Barrett's up 2 games. So even if William wins, nothing really changes here for them as far as seeding. But a couple question marks on Williams' team. William doesn't get hurt too bad from the bye. Barrett is hurt badly from the bye with a stud QB and receiver. He does have James Winston that he picked up this week, though, so good on him. That's a fun surprise. But against Pittsburgh, I'm going to take William to get the dub here. All right. One of the main matchups that matters right here, Krista and Mac. Mac is projected to win right now by a little less than 4 points. Let's see, neither team. Well, Krista has 3 players on bye, 2 of them fantasy relevant. but Mac does lose Derrick Henry. Definitely fantasy relevant for a big loss there. So he has to start Gus Edwards at running back instead of Derrick Henry. And Krista is TJ Hawkinson instead of Hunter Henry. Not too bad. But she does have to bench Scary Terry himself and has to hope Devontae Smith is healthy enough to play, and also Darnell Mooney. Ooh, tough downgrade there on receivers. Whereas Mac has players that would start on a team in a 8-team league. Holy smokes. Jalen Hurts, Bijan, Cooper Kupp, Malik Neighbors, Evan Ingram, Jawan Jennings, a nice pickup. Their offense has been terrible recently, but surely that gets back together and they figure it out somehow, right? They have to. Chris's team is really good, and Joe Burrow does get to go against Dallas at home, which somehow is worse for Dallas than being on the road. Jeffrey, you're going to need to explain that one. Kenneth Walker, who's been great early, struggled a little bit recently. Tony Pollard should get all the love against Jacksonville. Again, if Devontae Smith goes, it's against the Panthers, which is good news for him. Mooney and the Falcons can't be any worse than last week. Hawkinson with a good matchup. Josh Jacobs with a good matchup. Boy, oh boy. Name brand of Max is better, but matchup-wise and the teams that his people face is worse. So Krista has the matchup advantage as far as who her people are playing. Krista has her QB on Monday night, and then 3 people in the afternoon or Sunday night games. Mac has Jawan Jennings, Cooper Kupp, Gus Edwards. So he's got 3 in the nighttime as well. So, and he has a couple studs there in the nighttime, but if he doesn't have a lead going into the afternoon games, he's going to be in trouble. So if he's not winning after 1 o'clock, Chris is going to take this and pretty handily with Burrow in the Monday night game. But Burrow is the only one playing on Monday night, so that's going to be a fun sweat for both of these teams on Monday night, as Krista could be down 20-25, and that might not be enough. Let's take Krista to win on Joe Burrow on Monday Night Football. Jeffrey versus Ryan, again, big game for the upper middle division for the chance to get up into the highest division. Ryan has to win this for me to have a chance. If Jeffrey wins, he moves on regardless of points for and tiebreaker. It is projected to only be a little less than 3 points difference, so tight spread. Ryan does lose his stud running back, tight end, which who would have thought we'd be saying that about Mark Andrews after this season started, and then QB as well, whereas Jeffrey only loses a QB who he only picked up recently, so that doesn't really count, and then Cortland Sutton, who's shockingly been good this year. So advantage to Jeffrey as far as bye weeks and not dealing with it. QB Williams versus Josh Allen. Yeah, we're going to go Josh Allen. For Jeffrey, James Cook versus Kamara. Definitely got to go Kamara. Also, interesting, I hadn't noticed that with Jeffrey doing the QB running back tandem. Although it's worked out well, as James Cook has had quite a few reception touchdowns. The Rams D is decent. It's not incredible, but Alvin Kamara gets the Giants. Caleb Williams gets the 49ers. Chuba Hubbard, though, on the downswing now that Brooks is starting to play some, so that might not be great. And the Philadelphia defense has been nasty recently. Tyrone Tracy is starting to lose his grip as a starter, though, for the Giants with Singletary, so that's not great. George Pickens is getting a little smack around by his head coach this week with he's gotten in with the penalties, he's gotten all that kind of stuff. It seems like he's the new Antonio Brown. How do the Steelers keep getting those kind of players? Justin Jefferson is due for Ryan to finally have a touchdown. JSN has been incredible recently. And after that, it gets a little weak. Gesicki, Kyle Pitts. I mean, you would have thought Kyle Pitts was good, but he's been terrible recently. Watson, who I used to have, dart throw, will either score you a ton or get absolutely nothing. Odunze, people have been calling for him to break out. This is going to be a tight match. It is going to come down to the Monday night game for the Bengals D for Ryan. Kind of like that. If Ryan's ahead, he can actually choose just to bench them if he doesn't need them. But Jeffrey does have Gesicki going Monday night as well, so maybe not. It's going to be a tight little finish. Ryan with John Parker Romo, who I'm not sure actually will be the kicker for Minnesota anymore. They did just activate their other kicker today, but I don't know if he'll actually play Sunday or not. But great matchup. Hope against hope. I'm going to pick Ryan to win, which is going to create some fun chaos for Jeffrey versus me in total points for. And as of right now, Jeffrey is projected to score right at 100, and I'm at 80. So that's 20 points. If that comes true, if it's truly 20 points, I would only win the point differential by 8 points. So it's gonna be, even with a loss, Jeffrey, it's gonna get close. It could get real interesting. Luke versus Rusty is a 21 point difference. Also makes no difference to anything. Luke has wrapped up his spot. He will be in the upper middle next year, even with a loss, and he's in the playoffs, so he's getting ready for next week. Looks like Rusty's giving up in the season. We're going to give Luke the win regardless, no matter what happens. Derek versus Delwyn. Neither of these teams can move forward. They're both going to go down. They're just getting ready for the play for the first round pick. Derek's projected to win by 12. I'm really kind of surprised by, I've liked Derek's roster kind of all season. Must be some bad luck. Let's see what his points against looks like. Derek. 1232. That's middle ground. The most unlucky player of the season, I bet y'all could guess it, is Matt. He is the only one in the 1400s with points against. That guy, he can't catch a break. Let's get Derek the win this week. Speaking of Matt, you're going to, when y'all have time, go check out this matchup. Matt versus Austin, a 1-12 team versus a 2-11, 57 points versus 55 points projected. This is just truly ugly right here. Matt currently has 1, 2, 3 starters on bye and 1 on the bench on bye, so he doesn't have any extra players. Austin is 2 players short that he could just pick up without having to drop anybody. And even with that he's got 3 people that are on IR on top of that. Man, this is ugly. Let's just say Matt wins somehow. Michael versus Dylan. Again, this would have been awesome if this matchup mattered from a tiebreaker standpoint, but Michael could win and tie Dylan's record at 10-4, which is a great season. But points forward-wise, like I said before, Michael can't catch him unless he just absolutely obliterates him, as he is behind. Dylan's actually the second highest scoring team by 10 points behind Barrett at 1,500, and Michael is only just under 14, so he might have to score 200 something. Not impossible, I suppose. It'd set a record. It could be done. But so this Michael basically just needs points. He doesn't really care about winning or losing this one. He just needs a lot of points. Speaking of which, I didn't know Michael had Jerry Jeudy. I hope you started him last week in that Monday Night Miracle. Dylan dropping some Lions players this week on the waiver. I don't know if y'all saw that. What's going on, Dylan? You're not allowed to get rid of Lions. What's happening? Getting scared of Chicago in the playoffs? I mean, come on. But Baker Mayfield, bunch of Lions. Got the Cardinals D up there and the Bills D. He's stacking up D's, getting ready for playoffs, I suppose, in the matchups. But great season by Michael, man. 9-4, always has the receivers. I think he puts up a ton of points. I think both these teams do score over 100. But Dylan will win. Michael will put up a lot of points, but sadly not quite enough to matter. And then next week, we'll start the playoffs. Now, remember, once we get in the playoffs, everyone still plays. The people not playing for the championship are playing for the first overall pick. And so you still need to play every week. You still want to win. The bottom works like a ladder where if you win, you move up. If you lose, you move down a spot. We'll get into all that next week. And we're only 3 weeks away from Florida, y'all. See you soon.